Previous videos, we talked about how to use the SQL Server Management Studios. Now, how to create tables, how to insert data, how to update your data, and how to update your table structure using Microsoft SQL Server Management Studio. Now, in this chapter, we will be doing the same things, but using the SQL Server or Structured Query Language. Now, Structured Query Language or SQL is the language that is used to talk to the database server. Now, our first script is going to be how to create a table using the query language rather than using the SQL Server Management Studio. So if we go to our Object Explorer, we're still going to be using the same database, which is a demo database. In our demo database, we've got a couple of tables. We've got the customers, employee, orders, and products. Just a reminder to show you what we've created throughout the course so far. Now I'm going to add another table, which is going to be categories. So I'm going to store my category names in a different table to the products table. Now, how do we create that table? I'm just now going to create the script. So now to create a table, the first keyword that we need is create. So that will tell your database, create. What do you want to create? You want to create an object, which is table. And then by creating table, then you provide the table name. So what table do you want to, how do you want to name your table? So I'm just going to call it product category. It's going to be product category. And now that's my table name. And with this, what we need to say is we need to tell our database that the columns that we need in our table. So the first column that I need is going to be category ID. So with category ID, and then followed by the data type, it's going to be integer. But because it's a product ID, what I also want this to be an identity. So I'm just going to say identity. So that means, this is the ID for this table. And with identity, if you can remember through the SSMS or the SQL Server Management Studio, in your column properties, you had an option to say this column is identity, and you also provided a seed and incremented value. So what the seed mean is, the ID for this table will start at 1, and I am going to increase it by 1. So I'm saying is my category ID is integer. It is the identity of the table. So that means this, if I need to do a relationship on this table to the products, the ID for my product category is going to be the category ID column. So now it is integer, it's the identity of the column as well, and I also want this to be primary key. So primary key, but I also want that to be not null. So what would happen is, in this case now, the column is going to be called category ID. It will have int as the data type. It is going to be a primary key, and it will not allow nulls. Now the second one, going to have another column. I'm going to call that category. So which category this is. And in here, I'm going to say this is a varchar 50. So I'm just going to say, this will include, this is a varchar 50 column type. That means it can include numbers and letters. And the next thing which I want in here is just want to create one more column, and that's going to be entry date. That entry date is, it will just tell you when an entry was made into that database product. But what I also want to do is I also want to provide a default value. So now if you could remember in our SQL Server Management Studio tool, we had the option to provide default value. We can do that in the query also, and we just need to tell it that it is the default value of what it is. So I'm going to do this as date and time, call this date and time 2. The default value for this one is going to be get date, today's date, and I don't want this to be not null. Category also not null. Say F5, which will execute this query and create the table, or I can just go from here. Now, before you hit F5 or execute, one thing that you need to make sure is that you're inserting or you're creating the table in your correct database. So you can have, if you click on that drop down, you'll be able to see how many databases you've got. In my case, I've got a demo, master, model, and I've also got the worldwide importers database. So always make sure that you select the correct database from here. If you can't see the toolbar, you can go on to view. You've got toolbars and you can say editor, SQL editor. This is your toolbar. So this will just show you the toolbar in here. Create your table, press execute. So I'm just going to do that. And now I've got the message in here, says command completed successfully. If there is an issue with your script or your code, you will see something different here. You will probably see an error or something, but that's when you go back and check your code to see what the error is and you correct your script, run it again. To see your new table, just head back to your database. In our case, it's demo. Right click on this one. Let's just say refresh. Go to tables. We now have a new table which is called product category. And if we expand the properties for the table itself, so we can see the columns. We've got columns, category ID, category name, and we've got the entry date in here as well. If we go to keys, you'll see your product ID is primary key.